So on a pain scale of 0 to 10, what was that for you? It wasn't pain, it was more like discomfort. Between a 3 and a 9? Oh, definitely it was an 11. It was more tired, not pain. On an aura scale of lapis to quartz, it was like a citrine. Okay, this is an important one. You'd think it would be a simple question. How much does it hurt? The problem is pain is probably one of the most subjective things out there. Not only is it hard to figure out how much something hurts, it can be hard to even figure out what you're feeling in the first place. This video will try to help you become more accurate at discerning what you're feeling, bringing in the most current understanding from modern research of pain science. I love this topic because when people get good at this, my job becomes a lot easier. We also get to spend some time diving into some really nerdy details about neuroscience. Everybody wins. What I've found to be the most helpful clinically is to offer some of the most common pain experiences and help you differentiate between them. The hope here is to make you a better patient and to increase your own self-awareness about what you're feeling. Pain and other symptoms are messages from your brain about something going on in your body. If you have a small symptom vocabulary, you might miss the nuances of those messages. This misunderstanding can lead to delayed healing or even injury itself. To even have this conversation, however, we need to understand what pain really is. First of all, we need to dispel a misunderstanding. Pain is not an input from your body like temperature or touch. Pain is an output from the brain. The brain takes in all the sensory info available: tension, pressure, vibration, chemistry, and it determines whether or not the sum of all that sensory info, when combined with all of its experiences with that part of your body, your personal history with injury, your family's history of injury, the position of Venus relative to Mercury, the color of the sky, is equal or not to a threat. If the answer is yes, the brain creates the sensation of pain in order to get you to alter your behavior. It's circuitous and it's rife with opportunities for misinterpretations or outright misunderstandings. That's why it's so important that we take some time to get better at understanding what these messages really mean. So, let's dive into some of the common confusions about describing pain. Pain or discomfort? Come on, I'm kidding. It makes sense. Pain is something sharp and specific. Discomfort maybe is something you notice is there, but it's not as significant, and because the word pain has stigma associated with it, we call it something else. Overall though, I'm going to suggest we just stop using the word discomfort. We have a pain scale, as obnoxious as it sometimes is, from 0 to 10, usually where 10 is take me to the hospital and 0 is nothing at all. This pain scale exists so that we can explain gradations of our pain experience. We don't really need different words to differentiate kinda painful and really painful. Just use the numbers. If what we're trying to convey, however, is that we feel something going on, but it isn't necessarily pain per se, there's another word we can use that might offer some more nuance. Pain or awareness. Sometimes what we're trying to communicate is not that something hurts, but that we are more aware of that area than we might be otherwise. This is very common. When we injure ourselves, or even if the brain is just concerned that we might injure ourselves, our sensory experience of that part of our body becomes heightened. This can be a low-level temporary thing, or if left unchecked for a long period of time, can lead to literal changes in the structure of our brain. What we call the sensory homunculus, which is like a map of how much brain real estate is dedicated to various parts of our body, literally changes, dedicating more space to the part of your body that your brain is concerned about. Crazy. On that pain scale of 0 to 10, a lot of people will say 1 out of 10 is really more of an awareness or even that word discomfort, as opposed to something that hurts. Pain versus fatigue. A lot of people get tripped up between the sensation of muscle fatigue and pain. If you do push-ups until you can't do any more, that's muscle fatigue. The muscle cells or the nerves firing those muscles have run out of the necessary components to finish that contraction. Because your brain now realizes that in a pinch you couldn't contract those muscles as easily, it can sometimes create pain, interpreting that temporary loss of function as dangerous. If you want to learn how to differentiate more effectively here, just practice. Do some push-ups until you can't do any more, and then really feel into what that experience is like. Don't be afraid to talk to your brain. Hey, this is okay. I'm in a gym. I'm tired, but it'll pass in a moment. We don't live in a world where lions might pop out of the tall grass at any moment, so we can reprogram the brain's concern in moments like this. And this gets to a fundamental piece of this work: creating a dialogue between your conscious mind and your brain's sense of self-preservation. Numbness, tingling, and electric shocks. This one is pretty straightforward. In general, if you're feeling numbness and tingling, we're dealing with neurovasculature. It's just a word that means nerves and blood vessels. At some point between where you're feeling the symptom and your heart or your brain, some structure is likely getting pressed on or stretched. Though not a cause for panic, it's not a feeling you really want to lean into. Maybe there are some muscles that need to get foam rolled or stretched. Maybe the position of what you were trying to do wasn't quite correct. Try to find the source and see if you can relieve that negative sensation. If these kind of sensations are getting worse over time, I recommend you go see a PT or somebody else to get it looked at. Burning, aching, soreness. There are a lot of kinds of pain experiences. Sometimes it has to do with what is triggering the pain in the first place. Often, if we're feeling a limit in a range of motion because, let's say, a muscle is being held in contraction and is tight, or because we have scar tissue built up in a part of our body, as we push into that end range, we might feel some burning sensation somewhere in that structure. If we're dealing with an inflammatory process deep in a joint, as the fluid accumulates and presses against that joint capsule, we might feel a deep aching sensation that maybe is fairly constant but gets worse as we move in certain ways. And then there's soreness, something we might use to describe a feeling in the muscle belly as opposed to the joint, usually associated with when you push hard at the gym and wake up the next day. But here's the thing. In this neighborhood, things are especially subjective. While I might feel burning when I hit the limit of some scar tissue I've built up, you might feel an ache or soreness. These words don't have any actual universal definitions, and as such, we need to be more specific when we're using them. Since single words can't convey the complexity or the subjectivity of a pain experience, I really encourage people to get good at describing their pain instead. Location. Can you point to it, or is it more general? Pain scale. 0 to 10, 10 is take me to the hospital, 0 is nothing at all, 1 is probably more of an awareness. This part is super subjective, and that's okay. Timeline. Did it build over time, or did this come on very suddenly? 24-hour cycle. Does it change at all throughout the day? Triggers. Is it associated with movement, with lying down? Does it come on at the exact same joint range every time? Numbness and tingling. Do you have any of that? By trying to think about your pain experience with these characteristics, it's going to instantly give you a lot more information about what you're dealing with. Not only can this information help guide treatment, it can, just by the process of figuring it all out, reduce your pain experience as your brain moves from reactive panic mode to a more stable understanding about what is going on. I hope you found this helpful. If you'd like to find out more about how I practice, set up an appointment, or you just have some general questions, please feel free to check out my website or send me an email. Cheers.